Take a deep in-breath 3 times. And with a deep in-breath, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. The Four Agreements, our lovely book, the Toltec Wisdom Book by Don Miguel Ruiz. Today, we're going to finish up with the fourth agreement. Always do your best. It seems like it goes without saying, always do your best. Maybe we are always doing our best, but we just don't hold it that way. Anyway, let's plunge deep into always do your best and see where it ends up for us. Chapter 7, the fourth agreement, always do your best. When all four agreements become a habit, your whole life becomes easy. So let's review the four agreements in our minds. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally, meaning the things that you think you ought to take personally. No, don't take those personally either. The things that affect your loved ones and you take that personally, no, don't take that personally either. Why? Because the likelihood is it wasn't meant for you or them personally. It was someone else's movie of the way things are, which probably didn't include you at all, even though it seems like it. So we be impeccable with our word. We don't take anything personally. And the third one is, we stumbled on this one last week.
I can't remember the word.
Don't make assumptions.
Don't make assumptions, yeah.
Don't make assumptions. Don't make assumptions that everything you say and believe is the absolute God-given truth. May not be. And the fourth one today, always do your best. So when those agreements become a habit, we've memorized them and we can bring them up, your whole life becomes easy. And there comes a point where you don't even try. It's automatic and effortless. So that's what we're after here. We repeat these so much so that they become part of our life. So it eases up our life. All right, you think, no argument about that. You're thinking right now. I'm thinking, you're thinking. Your thoughts coming and going are also your dream. You are dreaming. So we could call our thoughts a dream. We're going to call our thoughts as they show up for us a dream, just to give us a little space from those thoughts. So we can follow the third agreement, don't make assumptions. You're dreaming, we're dreaming. If you cannot avoid dreaming, then why not create a beautiful dream? So if you're thinking thoughts, why not think beautiful thoughts? Why not? Wow. Sometimes that seems tough for me because I don't seem to be under control of my thinking. Well, sometimes when I'm meditating, I meditate on my passage and then my mind just takes off and starts thinking, dreaming. So why not create a beautiful dream? It just sometimes seems like I'm not under control. But if I notice that I'm thinking, Notice my mind is straight. I can bring my mind back. And I think that's where the fourth agreement comes in. Always do your best. Just do our best. Anyway, what about that? Why not create a beautiful dream? If you can believe in your limitations, then why not believe in the beauty and power of life that's flowing through you? So, what are your limitations? I don't know. One of my limitations is anger. I get angry about some things. I get angry about some things. And when I'm angry, life just doesn't seem beautiful. It seems complicated. And my mind rotates and rotates around those things that I'm angry about. And the interesting thing is, I can be upset or angry about one thing one day, and the next day I get upset or angry about something else. And that other one just rotates someplace all by itself. So if we can believe in those thoughts that pop up for us, then why can't we not believe in the beauty and power of life that's flowing through us if we can learn to focus on it? Why not learn to be generous? Why not? Why? Well, it makes us feel terrific. When our mind comes up and says, well, I'm not going to be generous in this situation because it doesn't make our life beautiful, and yet our minds are right. I'm not going to be generous there. So it could be a struggle. Why not learn to be generous and kind to yourself? Why not? If that makes you happy and you're good to everybody around you, why not? If that makes you happy and you're good to everybody around you, why not? So being good to everybody around us doesn't necessarily, in my view, mean that we do something to make people happy. People are in charge of their own happiness. So sometimes we can be good to everybody around us by being generous, and sometimes we can be good to everybody around us by applying a measure of tough love. Sometimes, as we were discussing earlier, being good to everyone around you and tough love involves making serious decisions, life and death decisions about our beloved pets. So be generous and kind to ourselves if it makes you happy, and you're good to everybody around you, doing what's yours to do, doing your best. Why not? Once you are aware, that's the key. Once you're aware that you're dreaming, you recover the power to change the dream whenever you choose. We've talked about this before. It's awareness. Awareness. Once you're aware, you're telling yourself a story. You've got a story. Sometimes that story makes you angry. Tell it to yourself again and again. Sometimes the story makes you sad. And sometimes the stories seem to fade away. But if we can look at them all as dreams, dreaming, and recover that awareness, you recover the power to, well, maybe not totally change the dream, but maybe make some little alterations to it. Maybe step back from it whenever you choose. Intellectually, this sounds great, but like a lot of things, if we don't apply it, it's not real for us. So I have a little early exercise where we can see if we can be aware of one of our dreams with the intention of recovering our power to change or alter that dream. So we're ready? Gonna look inside
Yeah.
ourselves?
Yes.
Yes, let's jump for it. Here we go. Exercise, practice makes the master. I'm going to do this exercise just like you are. I've already done it, but I'm going to do it again. Are you willing to challenge your beliefs? Are you willing? Now, what's a belief? A belief is something like you say, well, I believe that this is the way to do things. I believe this is the way not to do things. I believe that other people ought to behave this way. It's my belief that other people should not behave that way. One of my beliefs is the way the world is. I believe the way the world is a particular way. All our beliefs. So are we willing to challenge, well, maybe just one or two beliefs today? Are you willing to ask yourself if what you believe is really true, the absolute truth? We're not going to go over all the beliefs, but maybe we can pick one to play with. Are you willing to ask yourself if what you believe is really true? And you may find out something very interesting, or you may not. All right, so if we're willing, let's go ahead and ask ourselves the following question right now. What is the most positive belief I learned from my mother or my father, or a sibling, or a beloved teacher? Let's go grab one or two of those. What's the most positive belief?
I guess show love to your family um, and everyone else. I'm not sure what's more important than that.
So that's what came up for you as a positive belief. I have a couple positive beliefs that came up for me, one from my mother and one from a high school teacher. Things they said. So I'm going to look at those two things, and you can look at what you just said. Now ask yourself quietly if that belief is true. So I'm going to ask myself, is that belief true? Or is there any part of it that's not? The answer you receive may be, I'll make some suggestions, could be many answers you get. Yes, that belief is true and I believe it. Or no, that belief may not be true, but I'm not going to let it go. Many other possibilities. So what answer do you receive when you ask yourself, is that belief or those beliefs true?
Yes, that belief is true. And I believe it.
Yeah, so that's the answer you got. Good. All right, here we go. We're going to do another one. We were successful with that one. Let's see how we're doing this one. Ask yourself right now, what is the most negative belief I picked up from my parents or a sibling or friends or some teacher? And we can either focus on that internally or share it either way. Let's do that. What's the most negative belief?
Mm. Well, my father and both of my siblings were pretty racist. I don't know. Yeah, I recognize it even then about my father.
So look to see if the negative belief that you just described is something that's somewhere a part of you right now. And ask yourself, for you, that belief is true or still true? Many answers you might get. Yes, that belief was true and I believe it. I still believe it. Or no, that belief is not true. I reject it.
You mean the beliefs that they believed?
No, that you believe.
Well, I believe they were racist, and I believe it.
I got it. So this is just,
But
uh-huh.
oh,
So what I heard
okay.
you say is,
But I reject that belief of theirs. I'm
right,
not sure exactly how deep we're going here. Yeah. But I know there's probably still a little part of me that's in that because
right.
that happens to all of us, especially when we're raised with it.
That's right. Let's keep
So,
it, uh-huh.
no, that's all.
I believe in simplicity. Let's keep it simple.
Yeah.
So what
Okay.
I'd say is we don't want our minds to get all wrapped around heading in different directions. Let's keep it real simple. You have a belief, I heard you say, that your parents were racists.
Well, I'm not sure about my mother, but my father definitely.
Then you can pick your father. You have a belief your
Yeah.
father was a racist. So look inside yourself and you can share it or not, doesn't matter. Ask yourself if that belief is really the absolute truth. And maybe true.
I believe it's true.
Mhm. So you believe it's true. You believe that your father's racist and that's in you. So you're not going to reject that particular belief. So that's a belief you have. It's just simple. That's the exercise. So we looked at two beliefs we have or more. We looked at a positive belief that's in us, and we either chose to keep believing it or not. We looked at what we might call a negative belief in us. We're not trying to replicate the other person's thinking, but in us. We looked at a negative belief in us, and we looked to see if we want to keep a hold of that or if there's any part of us that questions it. So that's the little exercise. Good, we did a good job. Practice makes the master. So this is about us, not about others. You can relearn to love yourself by accepting yourself and your beliefs unconditionally. So we can take those two beliefs as examples, the positive one and negative one, and accept ourselves and our beliefs unconditionally. You can project unconditional love to the authentic you. There's an authentic you, a capital S self. And we can project unconditional love to that you with all the beliefs that we have. Always do your best is the agreement that helps you to become the master artist of your life. So, with regard to these beliefs, we're doing our best. We've noticed a couple beliefs, and by becoming aware of them, bring them to our attention. Always do your best is the agreement. It helps us to become the master artists of our life so that we can always re-examine our beliefs if we need to, especially if our life at some point is not beautiful. There's something going on, upset, sadness, angers. Now, there are angers that come and go, and there are sadnesses that come and go. So when life is, and those are beautiful. When life is not beautiful is when those angers get stuck in us. Same one keeps coming up again and again. Or a sadness gets stuck in us. And the same one refuses to dissipate, keeps coming up again and again. So if we're always doing our best with regard to those, that helps us to become a master artist of our life and learn to start working on those things that don't make our life beautiful. I believe a little, here's a belief of mine, a little sadness when appropriate now and then, and a little anger now and then when appropriate is beautiful. It's just when they become planted in our hearts and we water those seeds of anger again and again. And golly, don't you know, this is so perfect for me because I have a situation in my life where something came up that made me angry. And I have a story about it. And my mind keeps repeating that story to me again and again. It's very tedious, that story of something that made me angry. So since I prepare these lessons and teach this stuff, I try and process that anger. Look to see what's going on with that story, what I believe. See if there can't be something else that I believe, and change my story so that life can become a little more beautiful. I did that this morning when I went on my morning walk. My story came up that I'm angry about, and I did a little work on it and changed it, made it a little different. So there's some anger still there, but the story is a little less potent. So I did my best. So I can look at myself and say, oh, I did my best, and that's good enough.
How can you change the story? Just maybe change the way you receive the story, or the
Yeah.
story is still the story, but
Well, I hear you. The story is really the story, but actually it isn't. The story is our interpretation
yeah.
of events. It's how we have chosen to see it. So I chose this story in a particular way, the way I see it. In other words, this is the way I behave, and this is the way other people don't behave, and the way they ought to believe, and that makes me angry. So, what I tried to do to change my story is to see that the other person involved in the story may have been doing their best, even though it pissed me off. May have, may have been doing their best. That's hard for me to add to my story because it just
Yeah.
so obvious that what they were doing was stupid and foolish. And actually, I took it personally. They were trying to make a fool of me or make me want to do something stupid. I took it personally. Took it personally. So I made just a little teeny course correction in the story and said, well, maybe that person was just doing their best. And maybe they just had no realization whatsoever, although that's hard for me to accept, that this would tick me off. Maybe there's no realization. Maybe they just were in their own world and had no idea that what they did would make me pretty angry. Maybe they were just doing their best in their own way. Even just talking about it like this now with you helps to soften up the story a little bit. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes it's real hard to put ourselves in the shoes of someone else when we're taking something personally. Seems to affect us. So we just do our best. That's what I did this morning, did my best. That's what I'm doing right now as we're talking. I'm doing my best.
Right.
I'm doing my best so that I can accept that I'm the master artist of my life. And I'm not the victim of what other people do. Although sometimes it feels like I am. I just have to keep doing my best. Make sense?
Yeah.
So did you have some story where you would like to make some course changes in it, but haven't seen the way to do it? You don't have to share the particular story.
I think they probably come up all the time. I just can't really think of it right now. I think we always sort of change the narrative to something we can accept. And I'm not sure.
I got it. I noticed sometimes when I used to tell this story to myself, I would also change the story from day to day, but I was still always the victim of the story. It's just in little different ways.
Right.
And I still took it personally, just in little different ways. And I rationalized around it to try and have it be more true, although it wasn't. It's just my interpretation. But I wanted to be right, and I still want to be right. So the story kept coming out differently. I did my best. So here we go. Doing our best is the agreement that helps us to become master artists of our life. The first three agreements are in the realm of virtual reality, and the fourth agreement is in the realm of the physical. So what does that mean? The first three agreements are virtual, meaning they have something to do with the way we think. Be impeccable with your word. Don't shade things. Keep it simple. Just say it the way it is. Leave out the loaded adjectives. So that's virtual reality. Don't take it personally. Well, that's your mind taking things personally. Don't make assumptions. Well, in our minds, we make assumptions about what's true and not, and so on. Those are our virtual reality. But the fourth agreement is in the realm of the physicals, what we do, doing our best. It's what we actually do. It's the action agreement. The fourth agreement is about taking action and practicing until you become a master. So if we're always doing our best, well, we just keep practicing. We don't have to judge ourselves at any particular stage. Well, I did my best then based on how I was and how I'm doing my best now. Practicing and practicing. By doing your best over and over, eventually you're transforming yourself. You're changing the dream of your life, the thoughts, the stories. So by seeing that what our action is doing our best over and over, we just lighten up and start to loosen the bonds of those stories. And that's a transformation. And it's a change to the dreams of our life, our thinking. Doing my best. You want the freedom to live your own life instead of the life of the belief system. So what's the freedom to live our own life? It just means responding to things as they show up in the way they are without having all the baggage of the belief system and judge them and interpret them and so on. We want the freedom. So if our lovely belief system comes up in a particular situation in life right now, that's fine. Our belief systems are there to help us, but if they don't, make our lives beautiful. We want the freedom to live a beautiful life instead of the life of the belief system. That's the carrot. When the belief system no longer rules, the tyrant, the judge, and the victim no longer dominate either. We've all got a tyrant in our minds, a judge, and a victim. when the belief system no longer rules the tyrant who tells everybody what to do and how to act and when they should, when they shouldn't, that tyrant no longer dominates us. The judge who says, you're wrong, I'm right. They're wrong. Look at all those wrong people out there. They're running the country. I'm right. Why don't they follow things the way I believe? And the victim, my God, this is all affecting me personally.
I have a tyrant. It's my computer. So that immediately made me angry, thinking, I have to do this on my own and I can't do this stuff. Finally, last night, around 10 o'clock, I think the whole thing finished. Well, after a whole day, this is done, but it's like, anytime I get something like this, first I get mad that I have to do it. And then usually it works out, but it still doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence about doing it again. So I don't know.
So you got angry and your life wasn't beautiful for a while.
Yeah, I know. But now it feels pretty good. I thought, well, I don't have to worry about this happening to me in the middle of the day on Tuesday. So
Right.
that's a good thing. Well, I think a lot of it stems back to the part where my late husband used to do all that. And I didn't have to think about it or worry about it. And if there was a problem, I'd just say, hey, there's a problem, and
Right.
somebody else would deal with it. And now I have to deal with it. And even though it makes me feel good when I do get it done, I still don't want to have to do it. I don't know why I keep fighting that.
Yes.
I really do. It's not something that gives me great joy to have to do. It's a skill I don't really want to develop. I guess that's it. I've been fighting it.
So maybe the universe delivers to you and me
Yeah.
what we need to work on, because the universe saw some impediment there and said, well, they need to work on it. And if they won't, well, I'll just keep revisiting the same issue again and again until they're willing to. So isn't it interesting, all the things in life that show up that irritate us or just annoy us?
Or that you were worrying about, and then by worrying about it, you made it worse.
Right.
Right.
So there's something in our belief system there. This is all pertinent. Something in our belief system, some tyrant there that we have an opportunity to address so they no longer dominate.
Well, I think it's also the judgment of, now you looking at all the people getting sick at the White House and what they had been doing previously. And part of it says to yourself, if you get this virus now, it's all your fault. If you don't take care of things, if you don't do the right things, it's your
serves
fault.
you right.
Yeah, it serves you right. If you think of that about somebody else, then it's going to happen to you the same way. It serves you right. So you can't do that.
It's a great example of our judgmental mind, the judge that wants to make us right. And yet there's no beauty in life in being right. This is what I've discovered. Being right does not make life beautiful. Oh, my God, that's it's a heavy one. Being right does not make life beautiful, because when you're right, someone else is wrong, and just doesn't make life beautiful. So how can we work on our belief systems that judge so we can just lighten up a little bit? Maybe the stories don't go away. Maybe a part of it still says it served him right, but maybe we can also take a step back and have some compassion.
Well, I think you're right in that you just have to do your best and believe that everybody else is doing their best.
Maybe the administration in their own little theater of life is doing their best. maybe, even though we didn't like it.
Well, I'm not sure I believe that, but at least at my daughter's house, where when I go in, I wear masks, but generally nobody else is wearing a mask. My son will wear a mask if we're
Mhm.
inside. But last night we sat out, we were babysitting the grandkids, and I joined, and we sat out on the porch and watched the Virginia Tech game. But my daughter takes care of her kids in a way that, I mean, they're going to a private school now, so they're seeing other children,
Mm,
and I just have to take care of myself and hope that they're taking their, care the best
right.
they can of themselves.
Well, it sounds like we've got a lot in our lives today with the judge shows us,
Yeah, right.
is this right and them wrong? I hear it all the time. Uh, Other people judging others, particularly with regard to mask wearing or not mask wearing,
Right.
and who didn't and who does and what served them right.
I think we're living in a good area though. I mean, most of the time when I'm out, everybody's wearing a mask.
Me
So,
too.
so
But our challenge is to not let that judge in our life, which is a belief, those judgments are beliefs, to not let us run us and dominate us so much. Can we, when those beliefs, oh, it serves them right, they did it wrong, can we notice we got a belief there, step
right.
back from it, and just take a little laugh at ourselves? There you go again, judging others, which helps loosens the bonds of the belief system. We've done, I think, already in our little conversation here, an exercise I had planned for us. Let's see where this takes us. So, do we have the courage to be completely honest with yourself, with ourselves, particularly about these beliefs? Who's right? Who's wrong? Who wears a mask? Who should? Who shouldn't? Be completely honest to see the truth about how we write our stories. See, that's our story. One person has a story. I'm not wearing a mask. They don't do any good. The coronavirus is a hoax perpetrated by the opposite political party, and so on. That's their story. What's our story? Can we be completely honest to see the truth about how we're writing our story? Who's right and who's wrong? And when we're judging, we're probably not being completely honest. So that's the little clue. When the judge comes up, or when that tyrant comes up, our computers aren't working. It really ticks me off that I have to go through this. Can we be completely honest with ourselves and just live in the moment and see the truth about how we're writing our story? Probably the same way we've written it before. Oh, my husband used to do that. I wish he were here to do it. I don't want to do it.
Right.
That's our story. So to look at those stories, goodness gracious, do you have the courage to review what you believe you are? I know we're all kind, generous, loving people. I think I've heard that. Do you have the courage to review what you believe you are just all the time as it comes up, day by day? Or are there too many wounds to see? What we believe we are. Take some courage. The four agreements are actually a summary of the mastery of transformation. So the four agreements can help us review our stories. Be impeccable with your words, Steve. You're just putting a particular point of view in your story, lighten up. Just what exactly happened? Don't take anything personally. This wasn't meant for you. This is someone else doing their own thing. Don't make assumptions. Don't assume that everything you're thinking, Steve, is actually true. You may have got something in there that's just ancient sediment. but always looking to see if you're doing your best and say, yep, I'm always doing my best. Then using those agreements, we can transform ourselves. And the mastery of transformation is the process of unlearning things you've already learned. So maybe we have to unlearn, whatever that means, some things we learned about who's right, who's wrong, our beliefs. So how do we unlearn things? You unlearn by breaking agreements with your beliefs. Every time you break an agreement, letting go of a belief you just no longer want to hold on to, the power that was invested in that belief comes back to you. So by breaking agreements that aren't working, we restore power that's had taken away from us. Negative beliefs, judgments, tyrants, victims suck out our power. So by learning, using the four agreements to break these these old pesty agreements, we make ourselves into more powerful people. You start by breaking agreements that are small and require less power. So maybe we've been doing that today. We've been looking at some little agreements, not things that are earth-shaking or life or death. By breaking them or looking at them, that's a good place to start. As your personal power increases, your will becomes stronger. This gives you the power to change other agreements. So the advice here is start on the little guys. You know, the little ones that aren't going to change our life 100%, but just take care of one or two little things. Soon you're making agreements that lead you to happiness or more happiness, to experience and enjoy more, and to love, being able to love not only yourself, your family members, but others in your life and others that you perceive to be in your life through reading about them, listening to them. What did Jesus say? He said, love your enemies. That's why he said it, not because the enemies deserve love, but because we deserve to be free of our unhappiness. How are you going to face what you believe? You have only one tool to do this, and that tool is doubt. That tool is doubt, doubting things. And I think this is where we're going to close it today because it's about 10 to 11. Because doubt is what we'll be talking about next week. So how to face what we believe, you have only one tool, and that tool is doubt. We need to take a stronger look at doubt. Now, I think we already knew this, but did you know there's a fifth agreement?
No, I didn't know that.
Well, now you know.
Doubt, huh?
Has something to do with doubt. After Don Miguel Ruiz wrote the book, The Four Agreements, he got together with his son, who's named Don Jose Ruiz, and they wrote a second book. And the second book is called The Fifth Agreement. And the fifth agreement includes all the first four agreements, but they added another one. It has something to do with doubt. So we're going to look at that one next time. All right. So here's our reminder not to forget to support unity. And if we're ready, we can close by making the sound of Om together. exhale. Let's take 3 conscious breaths together. And with a deep in-breath. Om. Shanti, shanti, shanti.